Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And today, if you don't mind, I would very much like to continue on with the wonderful viewer questions that you were so kind enough to send to this channel, to submit to this channel a few months back. And it's been my great honor and privilege to be able to look at these one at a time, and I'm doing my best to cover as many as possible because they are all excellent. So thank you once again, my dear friends. I really appreciate it. Truly I do. Thank you so much. And in that spirit, my friends, let us go to the next question, which is from Luka Mladin. So hello, Luka. It's very nice to see you, and I hope you're well. And you say, what film proved you wrong? For example, you were expecting the movie to be terrible because of either the trailers, reviews, friends' descriptions, but completely proved you wrong and you ended up loving. For me, it was the Lego Movie. I thought it was gonna be a total corporate product designed only to sell toys and basically a giant piece of advertisement. What I got instead was really incredible story about childhood play, clever and inventive jokes, and a very clever play on the chosen one narrative. I never imagined the film to try as hard as it did to make a good movie out of its premise. So Luka, thank you so very much. This is really wonderful, a really wonderful question. And so this is very interesting. I think maybe. So in fact, I think there is an example that I could bring up. I'm not sure if I've mentioned it before on this channel, but if not, then I think this is a great opportunity to talk about this. So Luka, thank you so much for this great question. Now, many years back, I forget the film exactly that I saw, but as you know, when you go to the movie theater, when you watch a film, before the film starts, you get these commercials, and then you get trailers for other films, and you watch those at the start prior to the actual showing. And I forget the actual film I was at. I was there watching, I went to the movie theater. I forget the film exactly I was going to watch, but I do remember in the theater, I saw the trailer for the film Alvin and the Chipmunks, the live-action version. Well, live-action except for the chipmunk characters, which were these CG animated characters. But Alvin and the Chipmunks trailer appeared, and it had the joke about the raisin. I don't know if you know the film Alvin and the Chipmunks, but it had the joke about the raisin, etc. And so I do remember there was a bit of a kind of groan, that kind of reaction among the people in the theater at the time. And perhaps I felt in a way that wasn't inconsistent with that. So I was, perhaps that forged some preconceived notion in my mind about what kind of film Alvin and the Chipmunks was. And this was before I had my own family, etc. But again, Alvin and the Chipmunks, the trailer. So I saw that in the theater. So I had this preconceived notion in my mind about what that film would be. Fast forward a few years later, which is I was already married, and we already had our first child, our daughter, and my parents were still alive at the time, and my mother as well. So one of the last things she gave to me as a gift before she died was this, which is the Blu-ray set or box set of, at the time it was a trilogy of Alvin and the Chipmunks movies. So Alvin and the Chipmunks the Squeakquel, so the second film, and then Alvin and the Chipmunks the third film, Chipwrecked. And it comes in a set, and you can pull them out, and you have these separate discs or separate cases for each of the films. And again, at the time it was the sequel, so as some of you may know, there was another film that went beyond this, but at the time it was the sequel. So I had the trilogy of Alvin and the Chipmunks movies, and again, this was a gift from my mother, and when she gave it to me, again, she knew of my love of films way back when I was a kid, and I've mentioned many occasions where when I was young, maybe my mom and she would take me to the movie theater, or my mom and my dad and we would go as a family, go watch movies, go to the video store, rentals, etc. And we'd watch movies together, or they'd allow me to rent films, etc. Or we go to the movie theater. So it was a very much a household when I was growing up that was so encouraging of this particular love of cinema, as it were, the cinema journey, as I like to explain it. And then as I got older and as I got married and I settled down with my own family, and so maybe my own mother and father and I, because of geographical distance, we weren't as, say, close as we might have been in terms of when I was a kid growing up. But again, this was my life and this was my family, but we were still very close in that way. And so my mother, when she visited, or when I visited her, I forget exactly the situation, but she gave me this particular item as a gift. And she said to me, or the message from her to me, at the time I didn't think it was anything out of the ordinary or special. It was just, she gave this to me and she said, oh, perhaps you can watch these movies with your child, with your daughter, her granddaughter, my daughter. And so I said, thank you very much, and this was a wonderful opportunity. But I must admit that deep down in my mind, when I received this from my mother, I recalled that time when I saw the trailer for Alvin and the Chipmunks in the theater many a year ago. And so I thought, oh, I'm not going to enjoy this, but maybe I'll just watch it for my daughter or something like that, but maybe I'm not going to enjoy it. So that's how I felt when I first got this. But then when the opportunity presented itself, I decided to watch the first film with my daughter, and she was really into it. When the songs came up, she was dancing, and she was in awe of the chipmunk characters, and just seeing all this. There were many jokes, and perhaps there was a number of jokes that maybe she didn't quite get. They were a little bit more maybe slightly risque humor, but that's not the case for the entirety of the jokes. So some jokes were there, I think, for the benefit maybe of a more, say, adult audience, shall we say. So I was watching with her, and I was enjoying it very much. I enjoyed it very much. I enjoyed it through watching my young child enjoy it and get into it and get into the songs. And I think for her, it was the first time she was hearing a lot of these songs being sung. So that was really nice to get her reaction through that. And then also, I must say that I was really taken with it. I enjoyed the humor. There was, as I say, there's kind of highbrow humor, lowbrow humor, but there's a nice range to it, and I enjoyed. There's a really nice kind of romance element to it, and there's the relationship between Dave and the Chipmunks, and the dynamic between and among the Chipmunks, Alvin, Simon, Theodore. And I was recalling too, when I was a kid, and I was living in the States as a kid, there would be Saturday morning cartoons in the 80s, and one of the staples of Saturday morning cartoons was the cartoon Alvin and the Chipmunks. And so that reminded me, watching this reminded me of that part of my childhood as well. So there were a lot of things happening in a very interesting and quite amazing way when I was watching Alvin and the Chipmunks, the live action film. And so this is probably one where I could say, as an example, to answer your question, Luka, this is one where I feel like I had a certain preconceived notion about it. And then when I watched the film, I quite enjoyed it. Now, I should say, too, that maybe part of that reaction that I have to this, and in fact to the other films as well, I'm particularly taken by the Squeakquel. I really enjoy Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel. But maybe one of the reasons why I do feel this way, or partially why I feel this way, is because, in fact, as I mentioned, this is one of the last things that my mother ever gave to me before she passed away, before she died. And so I think maybe now that I think back on that time, and even now I'm ashamed to admit that now those memories are beginning to get hazy. So even where the memories are beginning to get hazy, I still have this article, this thing, this piece of physical media with all the dents in the corners, and the box is slightly worn, and there are folds, etc. But this is a lived-in thing. And so I realized that this is one of the things that, again, my mother gifted to me before she died. And so I think about this in that way too, and I have great care for these films. And in fact, the message that she gave to me when she presented this gift was this is something that maybe you can watch with your daughter, with your child, or maybe with my other son as well. And I think, I don't know if I really as I say, I don't think I really took that message to heart at the time, because I just thought it was just another thing, right, that she would say. But now that I think about it, again, the memories are getting hazy, and I'm getting older, so I'm starting to forget things too, unfortunately. But that's something that I try to cling on to as strongly as possible, because it's something about maybe my mother, giving a message to me saying that this is something, this cinema journey, as it were, is something very unique and individual in your own, but it's also something that you can begin to share with your own daughter, your own family, as it were. And as I say, at the time, my mother and I, we were separated by geographical distance, and perhaps there was a bit of a separation too, on a type of intimate level or an emotional level. But maybe this was, if that was something that was mutually acknowledged, maybe that message from my mother, now that I think about it, is something that where she was trying to maybe to either bridge the gap, or maybe if the bridge wasn't, if the gap wasn't bridgeable, then maybe it was something in her message to say that at the very least, enjoy this time with your own children. Because it is very important and very precious. And so in that way, my friends, I hold a lot of, not just sentimental value, but also a lot of great respect and care for the films here, Alvin and the Chipmunks, and then the Squeakquel, and then Chipwreck. But in particular, Alvin the Chipmunks and then the Squeakquel, because again, this is something that, for those reasons and others, it means quite a deal. So maybe that's one way that I would answer the question, the great question from Luka, in terms of this. Are these my favorite films in the whole wide galaxy? I wouldn't say so, but again, they don't have to be my absolute favorite films to be films that I can still cherish for many a reason. I also like to say, too, that films can also be, or physical media items or memories. These are memories. You can link them to points in your life and people in your life. And as I say, my mother, she passed away, or she died, and she's no longer with us. But it's little gifts like this that help me keep the memories alive, even, as I say, as I get older and my memories begin to get very hazy and very foggy. Having things like this will keep those memories hopefully as alive as possible and for as long as possible. So thank you, Alvin and the Chipmunks. And that's probably how I would answer the great question from you, my dear friend Luka. So thank you so much for that. And my dear friends, how would you answer the question? I would love to hear your thoughts or your responses in the comment section below if you're interested. As always, I would love to hear what it is you have to say. Okay, so thank you very much, as always. And Luka, thank you. And I hope you're well, my friend. And I hope we can talk again very soon. And for everyone else, also the same sentiments, apply as always. Of course, of course, of course. And to all, please continue to be happy and healthy and well, and please continue to watch a lot of great great movies. Keep on watching a lot of great cinema. That's what it's all about. And so until we meet again, cheers.